My name is Gene Jensen. I'm with bassresource.com. Today let's talk about a Carolina rig. Now, a question about a Carolina rig came up in the forums, I think it was last night. It was about, why should I use a Carolina rig over a Texas rig? Well, we're going to try to answer that question today, and at the same time give some basics about the Carolina rig. Carolina rig is a rig where the weight is several inches above the hook, okay, and that changes the dynamics of a lot of things when you're fishing. First of all, a Carolina rig consists of a sinker. I like to use 1/2 ounce or bigger, a bead, a swivel, and of course a hook. Okay. Now, traditionally, the way you rig these is you put the weight on the line, on your main line. You put the bead on your line, and then you tie to a swivel. Okay, and then on the other end of the swivel, you tie a leader, however long you want it, 18, 24. I've heard of people fishing 4-foot long leaders. A little tough to cast, but they do it. Then you tie your hook onto the end of the leader and you fish it. That's all fine and dandy. I don't do it that way just because I found an easier way years ago to have a Carolina rig and be able to adjust the leader. Man, it's hot. Georgia in August. What I do is, first of all, there's several different kinds of weights that you can use for a Carolina rig. You can use an egg weight, you can use a bullet weight, any kind of weight works. What I prefer is a cylindrical weight. Some people call them mojo weights, just because they don't get hung up as much, and they're a lot easier to get through grass and to cast. So, okay, back to the way I rig it. I put my weight on. Then I'll put a bead on. I can either use a bead or not use a bead. The reason a bead is used for a regular Carolina rig is to protect the knot from the weight, because your weight will actually work away and weaken your knot. Okay, and then I use what's called a Carolina keeper. It's a product I found several years ago. It's a little piece of, I don't know if you can see it or not, it's a cylinder of plastic with a slit right down the middle. Okay, what you do is you take your pliers and you squeeze that piece of plastic until that slit opens up into be a hole, and you stick your line through and you pull it down to about the length you want your leader and tie your hook on. And there you have it. It's a Carolina rig. Sinker, bullet, Carolina keeper, and hook. And the reason I like this Carolina keeper is because I can easily adjust the length of the leader just by reaching in with my pliers and squeezing that Carolina rig or Carolina keeper and sliding it down, and now I have about an 18-inch leader. And I'm ready to go fishing. And if I need to lengthen it, it lengthens right up. The Texas rig is more for throwing to a spot, throwing into a brush pile, throwing to a stump, throwing to something. A Carolina rig is if you've got a school of fish on this flat or on a point or in the rocks. You throw up in there and you drag down through over the point and over the rocks or over the flat, and cover that whole area and work it really good. A Texas rig you could do that with, but I feel like a Carolina rig covers it a lot better. In the lakes that I fish, it has a lot of hydrilla, a lot of milfoil sitting on the bottom. And so what I do with that is I will adjust my leader depending on the height of the grass. I want my worm to be well above the grass. So I'll throw up into the grass and I'll drag that weight through the grass, and that weight's catching all of it, and the worm is staying right up above the grass. Another reason why I use a Carolina rig is if I want to feel the bottom. I want to know what is on the bottom, drop-offs, rocks, stumps, hard bottom, soft bottom. It really does make it easier to feel the bottom with that heavy weight, and you'll still catch fish. Another thing that I use it for is it's my big fish bait. Reason is an old wary bass will grab a hold of a Texas rig and they'll feel the weight to it, and a lot of times will spit it right back out. Well, with the Carolina rig, your weight's way up above, in front of your hook, and it can't feel the weight. It'll grab hold of that worm, and it'll hold it for a little bit longer and give you an opportunity to set the hook. There's a lot of different baits that you can put onto a Carolina rig. Lizards, any kind of soft plastics, lizards, craws, Cincos, French fries. My favorite worm in particular is the new Rage Tail Thumper. This is the 10-inch version, and I was actually talking to the owner of, or actually the inventor of the Rage Tail, and the guy who designs all of these baits. And he said, when you're Carolina rigging it, you know, most people will rig a bait with a hook tail like this with the hook up, and he says, no, don't do that. Rig it upside down. And what happens is, as you're dragging it along the bottom, the water catches the flange on the tail, and it kicks the tail up. So you'll drag it and it kicks the tail up, and you'll drag it and it kicks the tail up, and the bass just absolutely annihilate it. Another thing I like about the 10-inch worm is, as you're catching fish, the tip always gets worn off. Well, he's got these nice little score marks all the way down, and you can just cut them off at the score marks, and you can fish it all the way down to be about that long and fish it like a grub or anything else. It comes in a 10-inch version, also comes in a 7-inch version called the Baby Thumper. I absolutely kill big bass on this worm. I love it, and I fish all kinds of different things. I'll fish a Cinco, and I'll fish a lizard in the springtime. I absolutely love a lizard in the springtime on a Carolina rig. All right, let's go fish a Carolina rig. What I'm going to do is I'm going to Texas rig hook a 10-inch Rage Tail Thumper. I'm going to nose hook it. Hook it weedless just like you would a Texas rig. I'm using a Gamakatsu EWG wide gap. This one's only a 3/0, I think. Don't use them very big. And what I've done is I've already dipped this thing in clear JJ, so it smells really good. It smells like garlic, and it covers up my scent and any other scent that the bass might not like. Okay, and what I've got out here is I've got a flat out in the middle. It's actually a sandbar out in the middle of the lake, and it's got some stumps and logs laying on it, things like that. Okay, now what you do with a Carolina rig is I'm just going to cover this flat, and I'll make a nice long cast. Let enough line out so it'll hit the bottom. And then once it hits the bottom, I'm just going to drag it just like this. And I'm going to drag it with my rod out to the side. Okay, that way that stays on the bottom. And I'm just going to drag it. Okay. Now when a fish hits, with the Carolina rig, you do not want to set it over top of your head. Something about the weight being too far in front of the hook and stuff like that, a lot of times it causes the fish's mouth to blow open, and you never get a good hook set. The hook set you want on a Carolina rig is a low sweeping hook set. So when you feel the bite, you pull your tension real towards the fish, and then you set the hook to the side really hard. Either side doesn't really matter. Just keep your rod tip low and set it and set it hard, and then just reel the fish in. Like I said, you're more apt to lose a fish if you hook it over your head. That's about it with a Carolina rig. Just drag it along, hop it along, feel the bottom.